Hello everybody, welcome back to another video on the channel, Mr. Footballer Loons, and today we are doing Game Week 6 of the Barclays Premier League. Starting off on the 3rd of September, which is tomorrow when recording this video, it is going to be Everton at Goodison Park facing Liverpool. And I'm going to predict Liverpool to win at 1-0. To be fair, Everton, they have just drew all season. They drew, and it's been very low scoring. I think it'll be low scoring again after Liverpool. It was a tight game against Newcastle. Managed to get 2 goals after conceding a goal last game against Newcastle. Yeah, the stats showed that Liverpool dominated that game, so Liverpool are probably back, and there's no way they're going to drop points against Everton. They've got all the momentum for the 9-0 win against Bournemouth, showing that they can really go against some decent teams as well after winning against Newcastle. I think it'll be another win here. I think it's going to be low scoring purely because at the start of the season Everton's been quite low scoring, purely because they've actually got a decent defence, Everton, you know. Tawaski at the back. They've got Cody from Wolves. You know, they're doing alright, and I've recently heard Mwapi's coming in there as an attacker. But I think Liverpool just have too good of a defence. They won't be able to get past them. A bit like when they lost 1-0 against Chelsea. It was a tight game, but really, Liverpool, they're much further up the table than Everton, much better team, so they're going to win it. Moving on to our next game, it's going to be Tottenham Hotspur, who are home against Fulham. I'm going to predict this one 3-2 to Spurs. Now, Fulham have had an absolute fantastic start, to be honest. They recently won 2-1 against Brighton, which is absolutely amazing. They did get their first loss against Arsenal, who are undefeated. We'll get onto them later on in the video. But Fulham, they've got Alexander Mitrovic. They've got a great side looking at it, especially the one that I always say, the best bit about Fulham is their pressing. They press as a team, and I think they're nearly going to cause an upset. They're going to be knocking on the door. Spurs probably going to make a mistake at the back. But Spurs, to be honest, they drew against West Ham. They're going to be wanting more, especially at home. Especially against a Fulham side that played in the Championship last year. They're going to be wanting so much from this game, and it's just going to be too hard for Fulham. Spurs are going to win it. Moving on to our next game, who is at Nottingham Forest, and they're facing Bournemouth FC. I'm going to say 1-0 to Nottingham Forest. Now, Forests, they unfortunately did lose 6-0 to Manchester City. To be honest, you can't really say that they're a bad team after losing 6-0 against City, because Manchester City are probably one of the best teams in the world, you know, so you can't really go based off of that. But Bournemouth, they lost 9-0 against Liverpool, then drew 0-0 against Wolves. I mean, they managed to keep their second clean sheet of the season. They've gotten 4 points. I believe they're not in the relegation zone. And they sacked their manager, Scott Parker, to be honest. I don't know why they sacked him. I don't know if there's anything else, any other reasons why they sacked him. But really, it's a bit harsh on him, in fact, because he was keeping them up at the time he got sacked, so I was a bit confused there. But Forest, they're at the Nottingham ground, and that is one of the best grounds in the stadium. You know, they're just the atmosphere there. The atmosphere of that ground. They hold it on against West Ham. Bournemouth, they lost 9-0 against Liverpool. They're losing left, right and centre, and I think Forest can definitely capitalise on this and beat Bournemouth, especially that they didn't score against Wolves. So, we'll see what happens, but I think Forest at home, they've got this in the bag. Moving on to our next game, it's going to be Chelsea at home facing West Ham United. I'm going to say it's going to be a tight affair, 2-1 to Chelsea. Yes, I think it's going to be very tight in general, purely because Chelsea lost to Southampton, only just beating Leicester. But West Ham got a very good draw, which I got exactly right. A 1-1 draw against Tottenham Hotspur, which is great. But here, they're not on that home ground. It's going to be a big London derby here. You get to 2 sides. Chelsea, they're at home. They signed Fofana. They also signed Aubameyang. Whether they're going to play in this game, I'm not too sure. I mean, if Aubameyang plays, then they've finally got a striker that they can use. If Aubameyang and Sterling can link up, you know, that's going to be a great side there. That attack is going to slaughter West Ham, and to be honest, West Ham haven't really had the best attack themselves. They've only just about scored 2 in the past 2 games. Before that, they didn't score any. So, especially away against a Chelsea side that's going to want to put 2 times harder effort in after a loss against Southampton. At home, Chelsea got this in the bag, 2-1. Moving on, it's Brentford at home against Leeds United. I'm going to predict this a high-scoring game. 2-2 draw between the two sides. Leeds got a 1-1 draw against Everton. They probably wanted a win. I predicted a win to Leeds, and they didn't get it. So, you know, Brentford, they won 4-0 against Man United. They drew against Leicester. They lost to Fulham, which was big. You know, they're going to be wanting to get a win here, especially at home. They probably think it's a winnable game, but Leeds have had a fantastic start. You know, obviously a loss against Brighton, because Brighton also had a fantastic start. But I think it's going to slow down now. And really away, they're not at Ellen Road, so I don't think they'll get the 3 points. And it's going to be high scoring, because Leeds, yes, they don't have a striker. They still got Jack Harrison. They still got Brendan Aronson, full of energy. You know, Sinisterra is starting to score goals in the Cup, in the Premier League. Doing absolute bits, Sinisterra. Jack Harrison, you know, Tyler Adams is definitely performing as well, and that's CDM, along with Rocker. You know, those two are probably the equivalent to Calvin Phillips. So, we'll see what happens, really, in this game, but Brentford are starting to draw loads. Leeds drew last game, and Leeds are at home, so a draw seems reasonable here. Moving on to our next game, it's Wolverhampton Wanderers at home against Southampton. And I would say, I'm going to say, 2-1 to Wolverhampton Wanderers. Yes, they haven't won. Yes, they drew 0-0 against Bournemouth, who lost 9-0 to Liverpool. But to be honest, they should have won. They played magnificently. They don't have the attack, but here they're going to be home, and maybe having the home advantage might give them more spirit to go and score 2 goals. Yes, I know it's probably going to be rare for them to score 2 goals, and yes, it's going to be a very hard game after Southampton should have at least got a point against Man United. They didn't. But they won against Chelsea, which was absolutely brilliant. But Wolves, they do have a good attack, but they stopped performing, like Raul Jimenez. He stopped performing. I don't know what, you know, ever since his head injury, he stopped performing. They need to sign a couple of attackers. You know, I think the defence and goalkeepers absolutely brilliantly after getting yet again another clean sheet. But really, they're going to be thinking, we're home here. We have the crowd advantage. We haven't got 3 points, but we are getting points. They're going to be wanting to get this. And really, it's time for them to kick on form. I think they'll kick on form here against Southampton. Moving on to Newcastle United, who are at St James's Park, one of the best stadiums, atmosphere in the Premier League. I'm going to say 2-0 to Newcastle United against Crystal Palace. I mean, I might be biased here, but I haven't really gone for many Newcastle wins in these prediction videos. But I'm going to go with 2-0 here against Crystal Palace. Yes, Crystal Palace. You're probably going to think, surely they're going to score here. Surely. Well, Brighton, surely they should have scored against Newcastle. They didn't. You know, Crystal Palace have got a great attack. That connection between Eze, Elise coming back, Zaha, that attack is absolutely beautiful. You know, they've also got good defenders in Anderson and Gay, obviously. So they've got something, but I think it's going to be a very close game. But Newcastle, they've got Alexander Isak to put in the goals. If Bruno Guimaraes can return from injury, Alan St. Maximin can return from injury. They've got Miguel who had a great pre-season, a couple of good Premier League games, and puts 100% effort in every game. You know, this could be 2-0 to Newcastle. Definitely could be, especially with the home advantage. Crystal Palace lost to City, Newcastle drew. So I think Newcastle are going to be wanting to get onto winning form after their first loss against Liverpool. Let's move on to the next game. Aston Villa are at home against Manchester City. I'm going to go for a 6-goal thriller. Manchester City to win it 5-1. Now, Aston Villa just about losing against Arsenal. Arsenal kind of had the game in their hands. But they did actually look like they're going to draw at one point after equalising. But I think it would be a 1-1 draw at some point in this game. Maybe halfway through the game it'll be 1-1. But Man City have the stamina. They've got the stamina to keep on going. As shown when they're 3-1 down against Newcastle. Newcastle couldn't hold on with their stamina. Man City made a couple of substitutions. And Man City kept on going because they've got that stamina. They've got a quality manager. And they can go full throttle. They won 6-0 against Forest. Best attack in the league. And Aston Villa, they lost 2-0 against Bournemouth at the start of the season. So I don't see why Man City can't win at 5-1. Moving on to the next game, which is actually in a whole new day, 4th of September. And it's going to be Brighton and Hove Albion against Leicester City. I'm going to say this to be a 1-1 draw. Now, I predicted Leicester to win against United. They didn't. United completely deserved it. Manchester United completely deserved it against Leicester. Leicester playing terribly. They lost Fofana. They've lost their goalkeeper Schmeichel. They're last place with only 1 point in 5 games. It's not looking good for them. They do bring in a centre back and a goalie coming from Cardiff City. Don't know if he's going to start. You know, he's a championship goalie, so I'm not too sure. But they bring in the centre back. I can't remember his name. Was it like Faye or something? I have no clue what his name is, but it's like Faye. He's a centre back, 24 years old. I think he's coming from OGC Nice. I've no intel on how good he is, so we'll see how he plays in the Premier League. But really, I think Leicester, they've got a point against Brentford, so I don't see why they can't get a point against Brighton. I think Brighton will be all over them, but they'll just sneak in a little goal at the end, Leicester. You know, because they've still got quality players in their side. You know, they've got James Maddison. They've got Tillemans, they've got Ndidi to break up the play. I think it'll be very low scoring, especially Brighton like low scoring games. And I think Brighton's mistake is they're not going to get top 7 purely because the exact same thing happened last year. They keep on drawing. They dominate games, but they keep on drawing. I think this is what's going to be here. Moving on, Manchester United, who are home against Arsenal. I'm going to say 2-1 to Arsenal. Now, Manchester United, they're a great team. I think this could easily be a draw. But Arsenal, I think they're going to keep up their form. They won the first 5 games. They're buzzing, you know, after the win against Aston Villa. Buzzing after 5 wins. They're going to win it. You know, Manchester United, I don't think, quite away from their bad form. Obviously, a win against Leicester was very good, but Leicester were at the bottom of the table at that time. So, don't see why Arsenal can't win this game because they've won all the other games that they've played this season. I think they'll keep up the form. It'll be a very close affair, but we'll see what happens. That will be the end of my video, but before we do end off, I'm going to quickly see how I did last week in my predictions. I actually got 6 points out of 20. I actually did get 2 exact results, but I got a lot of them wrong. I got West Ham, Tottenham exactly right, Liverpool, Newcastle exactly right, and I got Man City, Nottingham Forest right, but not exactly right, and I got Arsenal, Aston Villa right, but not exactly right. That's the only games. I actually only predicted 4 games to go right, but 2 games exactly right. So I get a bit of points. It's a bit of a meh game week 5. Hopefully we can improve in game week 6. But we'll see what happens. But that will be my end of my video. Hopefully you can like and subscribe. And always remember to turn on notifications to never miss one of my fantastic YouTube videos. I will see you next time. Goodbye.